Yes, hello, welcome to another week of the Rugby League Forecast podcast. This episode is the round 10 review of the National Rugby League 2026 season. 10 rounds done, eh? Wow, I tell you what, it's gone quick. It doesn't feel that long ago since the Bulldogs and the Dragons and the Knights and the Cowboys were playing in Vegas. So 10 weeks done. Pretty much a third of the season done. So I think it's been a really good opening 10 rounds of the year. Pretty unpredictable, to be completely honest. I mean, who would have thought the Dogs would be struggling after 10 games? The Melbourne Storm towards the bottom of the ladder, even though they got a win over the weekend. Fair to say, many didn't expect them to travel this poorly, especially after their round one win over the Parramatta Eels. Let's get started with the Thursday night game between the Dolphins and the Bulldogs. The Dolphins winning that 44 points to 12. And it was actually the Bulldogs leading this game after about 25 minutes. And to be honest, I tipped the Dolphins, and I was actually quite worried that the Dogs were going to run away with it. I'll be honest with you. I know the Dogs are copping a lot of criticism at the moment, and I can understand it. Like, I definitely can understand it. But there are signs from Canterbury, especially over the last couple of weeks. There are signs where they do have what it takes, and if they get it together, they can actually notch a few wins together. I thought defensively they were outstanding in this game to start the game with. So the opening 20 minutes, I thought they were pretty good defensively. They showed a lot of resilience and trust with their goal line defense. At the end of the day, the Dolphins did what the Dolphins do and score a massive amount of points. I just, once they clicked into gear. Once they got it together, they were unstoppable. For me, Canterbury, they just lacked points. And I'm seeing Lachlan Galvin cop a lot of criticism at the moment. Personally, I can't understand it. I think, if anything, it should be more directed at the coach. I feel that Cameron Ciraldo is a very good coach, but I feel like him and Gus Gould are very stubborn, which is probably not a good thing when you're talking about what's best for the now. I think they focus a lot on the future. They focus more on what's happening down the track. But I genuinely think that they need to start thinking about the now. What is best for the now? In the preseason preview for Canterbury in this podcast, I spoke about how Mitch Woods will need to start at 7 eventually in the season. Now, I can see that happening. Look, he hasn't been able to play this year. He's had continuous hamstring injuries since about February. So even if he was given the chance, he wouldn't have been able to play. So, I'll defend Canterbury there. But in saying that, I think they need to seriously look. This is thinking out of the box here, but Bronson Xerri for me reminds me of a young Luke Lewis. Just the way when Bronson Xerri came in 2018, 2019 for Cronulla, he was so fast, so skinny, so athletic. Now, the way in which he can hit a hole now for Canterbury is so underrated. He works with his ball players really well. He has a sense of timing, when to pass the ball, when not to. His defense is very good. I can see them putting Bronson Xerri at back row in the next few years if he is to stay at Canterbury after all the drama that happened a few weeks ago. I can genuinely see him starting as a back rower. I think that's something that they really need to consider. I know you've got Kikau and Preston, but look, Kikau's about 31, 32 years old now. He's been around for about 10 years in the NRL. He was at the Cowboys and Penrith and now, of course, the Bulldogs since 2023 as soon as Ciraldo got there. Now, for me, Kikau, the backstages of his career, I think it would be fair to say he's been quite disappointing to start the year for Canterbury. He's had a couple of great games, but apart from that, I think it's fair to say he lacks consistency. And when you think about Kikau, you don't think of when he played outside Luai and Cleary, he was more of a ball runner. He was more of a hole. He knew how to hit a hole consistently. We don't see that overly too much at Canterbury. We see it occasionally, but not consistently. And I think if they consider starting Xerri at second row and putting Kikau on the bench, maybe try that. Burton to centre, and for now you put Sullivan at 7, Galvin to 6 until Mitch Woods comes back. I just think that Bronson Xerri, I think he'd end up being a great back rower. Just the way I watched this game closely, I thought Xerri, he's a good player. I really rate him. But I think if he had a full preseason at back row, I think he'd nail it next year if he played there. Now, you're not going to move Jacob Preston. You're just not going to do it. But at the end of the day, kick out off the bench. Think about the energy, the X factor, the brilliance, the offloading that he can bring on from the bench towards his last couple of years in the NRL. Look, he might play another 5 years, who knows? But he is at the back end of his career, and I do wonder if that's an option, because at the moment, I go back to the Bulldogs being quite stubborn in the coaching box. Well, I think they are. That they continually are not trying things. They're not. Something needs to change, and it's okay to accept that, hey, you know what, I got it wrong. And I always look back at coaches that always took ownership and accountability. So say Nathan Brown, who coached at the Dragons for many years, went to Newcastle 2018, signed Ponga to the club, and it was actually there 2016 and 2018, I think it was. He brought Trent Hodkinson to the club, but he got a lot wrong. And at press conferences, I could always remember Nathan Brown sitting there thinking, you know what, I got this right, but I got this wrong, and I'm going to need to make changes. And he had no ego. There was no stubbornness. There was a flexible mindset of, okay, you know what, I'm going to have to change stuff here because I got that wrong. Coaches, I just can't see Serrao coming out and saying, I probably got this wrong. And I think he needs to learn how to do that. There's nothing wrong, just as players do. The best players in the world, Nathan Cleary, can occasionally get things wrong. It's part of the game. And the sooner that Serrao accepts that, the better that the Bulldogs will be. They need to understand that they have gotten things wrong. They've gotten some selections wrong, and they need to mix it up and mix it up quickly, because season 2026 is very quickly slipping away. Now, personally, I'm tipping the Dogs to beat Cronulla this week. I saw enough, and it sounds ridiculous considering that the Bulldogs lost by 32 points to the Dolphins last Thursday night. Sounds ridiculous, but in the first half, I saw enough in their game to suggest that they can beat Cronulla, who, let's face it, were pretty poor themselves against South Sydney. Canterbury, they need to shake things up quickly. Obviously, Matt Burton being ruled out before a couple of hours before the game did not help them at all. But in saying that, I thought Sean O'Sullivan, look, he didn't do anything brilliant, but if you watched his game closely, just the way his kicking game is really spot on, right? So to get them out of trouble, to direct a team around as a backup half, he is very, his rugby league IQ is through the roof. And you can see that by the way in which he plants kicks, the way in which he can notice when a fullback is on the right-hand side of the field. So he'll kick it to the left on the fourth, even third tackle options. You'll see Sean Sullivan kick it a lot if he thinks it's going to benefit his side. So his rugby league IQ is very, very good. Of course, he's not your consistent first grade half, but I genuinely think his experience is about 28, 29 years of age now. He wants to end up being a head coach of the NRL. I think Sean O'Sullivan's experience in rugby league is very, very important for a club. If I'm Canterbury, I'm signing him to a 3-year deal and saying, look, you can be a backup dummy half, a backup halfback, a backup 5'8", just like how the Dolphins used him. Like he started really well for the Dolphins in the first 8 or 9 games in 2023. He then got injured for the majority of the season and came back later that year, but he combined really nicely with Isaiah Katoa there. O'Sullivan wore the 7, Katoa wore the 6 in the first couple of months of that 2023 season when the Dolphins came in. So Canterbury, they need to accept that they've gotten things wrong, and the sooner that the coaching staff can accept that, then they can move on. There's enough there to suggest that they are a finals team. And, that defensively, fucking shocking. And this is the problem. They're not creating enough points. Defensively, they're not great. But in saying that, I do believe they are one of the sides struggling right now that can turn it around and turn it around quickly. They have enough experience, they have enough youth, and they have a great balance in their roster, which I think is fair and rare to say in the NRL right now. I look at plenty of rosters and think too many young guys in this one, too many veterans in this one. I think they have a really nice balance, and what they achieved last year was brilliant. Like, it was dead set unbelievable. I know they fell away towards the back half of the year, but to get to the second week of the finals, compared to where they were when we look back at 2021 when they got the spoon, they have climbed up the ladder so much, and much more than any other sides that have been very disappointing in the early 2020s. So I give them a lot of credit. I do believe they can turn it around. And if I'm a Bulldogs fan, I'm disappointed, but I'm not thinking it's the end of the world yet. I dead set reckon that they might beat the Sharks. I'm going to tip them. I think I've seen enough in their game to suggest that if they fix up their defence, if they can play for 80 minutes, they played really well for 20 minutes the other night. If they can play for 80 minutes, then I genuinely believe they can end up making the top 8. Will they go far in the top 8 this year? Personally, I had Melbourne and the Bulldogs in the grand final, which have actually turned out to be the two most disappointing sides this season. But in saying that, look, it's round 11. I genuinely believe that they can turn it around. Let's look at the Dolphins now. Now, I'm not going to criticise the Dolphins because, look, when the Dolphins win, normally they're happy to win 36 points to 32 or 38 to 28 or something, and they just let in a lot of points. So when they win, but when they win, they can't really rub it in because of their defense. Now, what really impressed me in this game for the Dolphins, if the Bulldogs still had a lot of quality out there, Connor Tracy, Stephen Crichton, Lachlan Goward, Jacob Preston, they still had a lot of creativity in that side, yet they couldn't come up with many points. And you've got to give credit to the Dolphins defense. 44, the tries they scored, some of the brilliant tries they scored was so impressive. But I'm watching the Dolphins defense going, are they going to tease us for another couple of weeks and then put in a rare and random disappointing effort and no one sees it coming? But what I watched closely in this game was their resilience in defense, their trust within one another. And I love the club. I love what they're doing. And I think Christian Wolf, he has this calmness about him, which I think a lot of modern day coaches could probably do with. I think gone are the days now where you're starting to see coaches every halftime, every full time just fucking blow up and bang, 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 because the game has changed. The players have changed. The generation has changed from 2003 to 2007 players to now. The reactions of players are different. You're talking about a whole new generation that you're coaching, and the game has changed. It's sped up. Things have to adapt. And I feel like Christian Wolf is a coach that we talk about that flexible mindset. I've seen him take ownership as a coach. I've seen him over the last 2 years since he's been coaching as a head coach at the Dolphins. I've seen him adjust his game as a coach, and I've seen him stay calm when under pressure. 4 games last year, they were bottom of the ladder, and they ended up 9th or 10th. They just missed out on the finals, but they went on a run and they actually scored more points than any other side in the competition last year from rounds 1 to 27. So he knows how to play with their strengths, but what really impressed me here was their defense, and good on them. I want to give a shout out to Max Plath. He is such a good player. Now, his service from dummy half is normally decent, but I did find his service wasn't great. In the first 20 minutes, especially first 25 minutes, his service from dummy half was very slow. He needs to work on that. His passing wasn't on sync. For me, Max Plath is a 13. He is a ball playing lock. And honestly, if they were really short of halves, you could put Max Plath at 7. He grew up playing in the juniors. Hang on, we got the fly going on. He as a halfback. Genuinely, I believe that he is just. If I'm Manly, if I'm Kieran Foran, I'm doing everything I can to sign Max Plath to a long-term deal at Manly. He is an Origin player. He is a super. When I talk about superstar, I don't mean the flashy, brilliant players, but I mean just the most reliable, hard-working. He is just Jermaine Hopgood 0.2. Like they're just hard-working, reliable players that have an offload, defensively very strong, and they are always there for their teammates, and a player that you'd love to run out and play with. Max Plath, his service from dummy half wasn't great, but when Jeremy Marshall-King came on, that is when everything changed for the Dolphins. You may have noticed this, guys, when you watched the game, that when Marshall-King came on, it made me think, you know what, if he was there from round 1, if he didn't get injured, I genuinely believe that they would have won another 2 or 3 games. He is so influential, Jeremy Marshall-King, and the way in which he can get players around him involved, the way, like his creativity. We talk about creativity. Bailey Hayward lacks that out of dummy half. And you look at Jeremy Marshall-King, he's got speed out of the ruck. His defense is very, very good. One of the best defensive hookers in the game. When he got to the Dolphins, he came out and he said, look, I'm going to end up being one of the best 5 hookers of the game. And everyone came out and laughed. And to be honest, at the time, it was quite a bold thing to say, I think it would be fair to say. You know, he'd played a few years at the Canterbury Bulldogs, played a bit of hooker in the halves, didn't play consistently at all in first grade. In fact, I'd say he probably struggled for the majority of his early career at Canterbury. For me personally, he has proved everyone wrong. If I'm talking the top 5 hookers of the game, I'm talking Harry Grant, Reece Robson, Blake Blake Brayley, and I've got Jeremy Marshall-King as 4 or 5. He's got everything. He's got a kicking game, but his creativity reminds me of Reid Marnie. Close to the goal line, his creativity is fantastic. I'm going to move on to the next game. The Roosters, 28 points to 12. Yeah, it's hot in here today. Whew. It's almost bloody winter. It's almost 30 degrees here in South Australia. All right, 28 to 12, Roosters over the Gold Coast Titans. Look, I won't spend too long in this game. One thing I will say, though, is I love the changes that the Gold Coast Titans came into this game with, right? So Zane Harrison, we saw him in the preseason challenge, and I really liked his game in the preseason challenge. For me, I think the rebuild, we talk about the Titans rebuilding from round 1 onwards. I reckon that was the first game of their new rebuild because Patson dummy half. Sam Verrills, I wasn't convinced that he'd be their long-term dummy half for the whole year when I spoke about their season ahead. I think he's a good player, Sam Verrills, but I think they need to really I think they had to make changes in their spine. I didn't think Jaden Campbell was a 7. I can see him as his dad. He's either a 5'8" or a fullback. And I spoke about this in the preview, in the Titans preview at the beginning of the year. We spoke about how Jaden Campbell is not a 7 that can direct you around the field. You want him to be a half that has flexibility in his game, that can direct a side around, but more importantly, focus on his running game, his short kicking game, his long kicking game, and engaging other players around him, such as early balls to AJ Brimson on that edge, and combining with Bo Firma. Look, for me personally, I was impressed with the Titans, and it sounds ridiculous, right? I thought the young kid had a good game because in my opinion, I thought the Roosters were going to win this 30 plus, and the Titans ended up losing this game by 16 points. And to be honest with you, if I'm Josh Hannay, I'm disappointed that they didn't get the win. But in saying that, they showed a lot of resilience in this game. I thought at times their defense was quite strong. I can't beat them up too much, to be honest. I thought they were out of all the sides that lost this week. I thought they were the side that could sort of, probably them in Canberra, that could sort of walk away from those losses learning a lot more than probably what the other sides could learn from. For the Sydney Roosters, James Tedesco for me needs to be the New South Wales Origin fullback. I'll do a couple of episodes in the next couple of weeks with my Origin squad and where I think Laurie Daly will pick players. And I also want you guys to leave your Origin squads and predicted squads in the comments as well for both New South Wales and Queensland. For me, the Roosters, they're winning games, right? They are winning games, and that they have shown now a lot of the Sydney Roosters and what they showed in 2018 when they ended up winning the comp. A new halves combination, Luke Keary, Cooper Cronk this year, a new halves combination, Sam Walker, Daly Cherry Evans. They started the season really poorly. And they had a bad loss against the Warriors in round 1. And then I think it was round 3, they had a huge loss at home against the Penrith Panthers. They are showing everybody that they are a fair dinkum team, to be honest. And the thing I like about the Roosters in this game, a lot like the Dolphins, where they were able to hold their opposition to 12 points. The Roosters, when they win like the Dolphins win, where their defense is pretty shit, to be honest. But in attack, brilliant. And I genuinely felt that... I think that the halves combination of Daly Cherry Evans and Sam Walker is really warming up, and hopefully, touch wood, that those two players are injury free at the back end of the year. But really, I believe we have 17 weeks until round 27. Long time, yeah. It's a long time away. I've got no doubt that by round 27, if these two players are healthy, I genuinely think they will be in the top 2 halves combination by the end of the year. I mean, think about how much they've improved from round 1 against the Wars up until round 10 against the Gold Coast Titans. The way in which Daly Cherry Evans and Sam Walker are evolving as a halves combination is simply fantastic to watch. You have a young half in there around 24, 25 years of age, and you have a half in there that the last one a comp 16 years ago, and He's 36, 37 years of age, and they are finding each other's strengths. They are playing for each other and they are working well with each other. And I felt that it was always going to take time, but now we are seeing what the Roosters expected from them come this time of the year. And they're doing a really good job going into the origin period, doing well for the Roosters. So congratulations to the Roosters. In my opinion, no doubt they'll be a top four side and a dead set chance of, I don't know if they'll win the comp. I think they can. But I think they just look like a grand final team for me. If it's Roosters Panthers, I think Panthers probably win it, but in the grand final. But they are showing enough to suggest that they will be there in a prelim final at least this year. The next game, the Cowboys and Parramatta. Look, I'm going to be quite harsh on the Cowboys here. They had that game sewn up. That it was done. It was done. Reid Marnie was brilliant in this game. Tom Dearden throws the intercept pass to Josh Adokar, who intercepted, scored the try. And when Adokar scored that try, notice the body language. If you watch the highlights again, if you watch the game again, notice the body language. And it didn't just dip. So if you want to just see what I'm talking about, go on YouTube, type in the highlights of this game, Cowboys Parramatta round 10, and look at the heads, the amount of heads that just drop when Adokar gets the ball and scores. Now, watch the game fully again and you'll notice that after the game, the body language, after that try from Josh Adokar, the body language of a side that was winning, you could see that all the confidence had just dropped. Now, they tried hard, the Cowboys, but for me, I had them in the top 8 at the start of the year. I believe they'll make finals, but this is why I don't think they'll go very far in the finals. They lack that resilience, and that in key moments, they will, save it's an extra time in golden point, or extra time in a semi-final game, or they're losing by 2, or they're winning by 2 in the dying stages of the game. I cannot trust them. In attack, you can come up and they can do anything, but in defense, that there were so many times where the Cowboys could have won this 44-12. Like, they dead set could have won it, but their defense is so inconsistent, where you think they start off a defensive set, rushing up and reading the plays really well, and you think, oh, they're just going to hold Parramatta out here. Like, their defense is so strong. And then all of a sudden, Parramatta come up with a try out of fucking nowhere. And I'm talking a long-range try, not just a try in the corner from 10 metres away. A long-range try where just one person in that side can just switch off. Now, they are trying, but there's a lack of concentration within the Cowboys defense. For me, I think if I'm a Cowboys fan, that one fucking burns. That one hurts, because you guys had that. And if the Cowboys are to make the finals this year, they have to win those games. Now, they've been brilliant. Over the last 2 months, they have been brilliant. I think they've won 6 of their last 8. Now, that's fucking great. You'll take that. It's probably better than anyone else in the competition, bar Penrith. But in saying that, they have to win these kind of games. They genuinely have to win it. And they have the quality, and I think it's fair to say they have the experience in this side now. I mean, Tommy Dearden made his debut back in 2018, 2019 for Brisbane. Ruben Cotter's been around since 2019. Jeremiah Nanai, Helam Lukey, like, these players have been around for quite a while now, and a lot of them are in their mid-20s, but then you've also got older players in the side as well. Scotty Drinkwater, he's almost 30. He's been around for almost 10 years. Of course, made his debut at Melbourne back in 2018, and he's an experienced player now. Jake Clifford's been around for a while. You've got players that have been almost around for 10 years, and you've got your veterans like Jason Taumalolo that has been around very, very, well, he just broke the record. Congratulations to him, breaking the record over Jonathan Thurston's most games played for the Cowboys. For me, Cowboys disappointing. Parramatta, I want to touch on Parramatta. Now, I don't think they'll make the 8. But boy, oh boy, you've got to love their resilience. I've heard a bit of criticism over the last couple of weeks towards Jason Riles, and I can't understand it. Now, if you're Jason Riles, your fullback goes down. Now, he's the spark in their attack. He combines really well with their halves. Now, he goes down for a couple of months. Jonah Pezzett. Now, I don't think he offered too much in the opening few weeks of this competition, but then he goes down. Matt Dury goes down through a foul play, a hip drop. He's out for the year. Same with Jermaine Hopgood, a foul play against him, hip drop, out for the year. Now, Jermaine Hopgood, for me, is the most important Parramatta player that they have had in their team since Jared Hayne. And that sounds crazy, right? Because you're going, oh, Mitchell Moses, this and that. Like, you know what? Mitchell Moses probably is, right? He is. But Jermaine Hopgood, for me, is He's so important. He's like the Max Plath. He's an Origin player. Unfortunately, he's a Queenslander. He's a huge loss. And then the Easter Monday game against the Tigers, Bailey Simonson jumps up and lands on his foot, and he's out for the year. And he's a huge loss. He was offering a lot. His kick returns were great. His lack of errors were great. And his defence had improved out of sight, Bailey Simonson. Pretty sure he's a local Cromer Kingfisher Junior as well. So now for me, Parramatta, they somehow do not, they just don't give up. Now, there will be games this year and a lot more games where they will lose. But there will be games like this and a few games like this that they will win, where just when you think they're gone, dead and buried, they will come up with something. Now, I'm not going to touch on the like Moses got the field goal, amazing, whatnot. I'm not going to touch on the penalty and the controversy there because at the end of the day, yeah, look, personally, I think it's just full time, but I don't want to whinge on this podcast all the time. I just want to sort of review the games and touch on the positives and criticize teams when it comes to defensive. And when I criticize sides, guys, hey, I'm not going out of my way to say fucking not good enough, not that. Like, who am I to say that, right? But as a rugby league fan, I genuinely feel that any rugby league fan that is passionate has the right to have an opinion. And this is what I want to try and build in this rugby league community, right? Like, I want people to have an opinion on the greatest game of all. And I genuinely believe that, Parramatta, like, congratulations to him. And when I criticize a side, it's, I guess subconsciously I'm trying to compliment them because I expect a lot more out of them. And I think their fans, I'm coming from a side of probably sharing a point of view of what their fans are probably thinking. Me talking about the Bulldogs, I'm probably putting a Bulldogs hat on for 10 minutes when I talk about them and trying to come from what I reckon a fan would be feeling. For me personally, Parramatta, congratulations to them. Winning that game by 3 points. Mitchell Moses was great. Now, I want to give a special mention to Ronald Volkman. How good has he been in the number 6 jersey the last few weeks? In my opinion, he's offered more than what Jonah Pezzett did in 3 games. Now, Pezzett wasn't terrible, but I just feel like he just lacked a bit of class, to be honest. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel that, yeah, Jonah Pezzett, yeah, I don't know. Ronald Volkman would have to be in their 17. Oh, well, they're 19, no doubt, when Pezzett comes back. So congratulations to the Eels there. And of course, Joash Papali'i, that try was fantastic in the corner. He gets up and just, gives it to the crowd. And yeah, it really is the greatest game of all. I mean, I tipped Cowboys to win that game, but when Parramatta scored that try, I looked at my arms, I had goosebumps because I was like, this is so good. Like, good on him. And good on Jason Riles for installing that resilience in defence and backing themselves when under pressure. He's definitely coached Parramatta to always never give up. And I think coaches probably, I'm sure all of them do it, but say if a team is down 12 points or 14 points, 10 years ago, it's almost like, all right, it's going to be hard for the other team to come back. 2 tries can be scored in 5 minutes now. Now, 2 tries in 5 minutes 10 years ago, last decade, was quite rare. Now, with the amount of points being scored at the moment, it's quite common. So congratulations to the Parramatta Eels for winning this game. Now, the Knights and the Dragons, I won't go too much on this because for the Dragons, what can you say? I don't want to sort of sit here every week and go, fuck, get it together, this and that. Like, because if I'm Dean Young, what can I do to change this? Now, Dean Young, it's not helping his long-term future of coaching this side, but he's picking up the pieces of the recruitment over the last few years, which has been quite damaging and disappointing. You have a 32, 33-year-old fullback that is doing his best, but not creating enough points and not using his experience to, look, he's out of options. I mean, you can't go Tyrell Sloan at fullback. I commend Dean Young to go, well, Gutherson's probably the best fullback we've got right now. You've got to put him there. But I've got no doubt Dean Young's thinking, shit, like this is where it comes down to poor recruitment. They should have 3 or 4 options in their squad to go, okay, look, they should have gotten rid of Sloan when Griffin was there. Like that there was talk about Sloan being, personally, I think if Sloan ended up on the wing for a Melbourne Storm, you'd be seeing the best of Sloan. It'd be better for his long-term future in the game. He's just defensively not good enough as an NRL fullback to be there consistently. I can see him being a good winger in the NRL, but for me, I can't. What else can I say about the Dragons? You can't. I'm out of things to say because 2 weeks ago I said they're fucked. Well, I'm not Einstein. We all know that. I think they are the wooden spooners of 2026. I mean, I think it's almost certain that they will be. Now, I think they will get their first win um, soon. I just have a feeling. I don't know. I think they'll get their first win soon. And when I say soon, I'm talking perhaps in the next few weeks, a fucking random one. Or could it be this week against Penrith? Probably not, right? But I remember round 3 last year, Penrith took on the Roosters, and the Roosters had so many players out. Like they were just, it was like a New South Wales Cup Roosters side. And the Roosters were paying $11.50 to win that game going into the game, and they won. Now I'm looking at the odds here, and the Dragons are $11. Will they win? I don't think so. But I mean, in my I tip footy thing, you put your tips in and you get points based on betting odds. I'm going the Dragons, $11. Rugby league is a funny game. The rugby league gods just sit there with a cup of tea, and they just think, wonder what's going to happen this week. Let's really fucking mix it up and mind fuck the fans and the players and the teams and really. And this is why it's the greatest game of all, because you don't know what the rugby league gods are discussing when they have their cup of tea. Are they asking for more sugar in their tea, or are they saying the Dragons will win this game and quite comfortably? You don't know, and that's the great thing about this game. Gee, I'd love to have a conversation and a cup of tea with the rugby league gods. Mate, the amount of shit we'd talk about would be so funny. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, Newcastle. Congratulations to them. They are showing so much consistency when I talk about their attack. They are just playing for each other. They are having fun. And the difference in this side, I had them as the wooden spooners of 2026, and I'm very, very happy to put my hand up and say I am so wrong, because this side, they're having fun. They're enjoying each other's company. And if I'm Adam O'Brien now, I'm probably thinking, what the fuck? Like, how they had this in them. I think he coached it out of them. If you see Adam O'Brien coach, his press conferences are quite, you know, not 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 that enthusiastic, I think it's fair to say. And I think it probably just, after 5 years of being at the club, they probably just got a bit over the lack of enthusiasm and energy. And now you've got Justin Holbrook come in. He looks funny. He relates to the players well. Something about Holbrook where he doesn't take it overly too seriously. Of course, he wants them to win and wants them to do a good job, but he's also embracing the challenge. He's also enjoying his time, and that's rubbing off on the players. And um, I give them so much credit for how they've turned it around. Very rarely do we see a wooden spoon side come out the following year and play how they're playing. Sure, they've lost a few games, and sure, they went through a bit of a down trot. They struggled there for a little bit for a few weeks, but they have been outstanding. Overall in this year, I think they're sitting in an 8th spot, I'm pretty sure. Congratulations to them. Kalen Ponga, for me, since 2018 round 1, when he took on Manly in Newcastle, that game would be in the top 3 games he's played for Newcastle. He was electric. He was dominant. He showed his experience, his class, his leadership, even leadership on and off the field. I loved what he spoke about Tom Dearden, being so heartbroken for his Queensland teammate and speaking about that. It's really, really sad. So congratulations to, as a Blues fan, I'm sad for Tom. Like, I am genuinely sad for Tommy Dearden, because he's a great player, and I think out of all the players in the NRL, he's probably one player that deserves to play Origin more than anyone, especially what he achieved last year in Game 2 and Game 3 and got awarded the best Origin player of 2025. It's disappointing. He may be back for Game 3, but Tom Dearden, disappointing there. But Kalen Ponga, he's showing a lot of leadership, and re-signing with the club would give his teammates, the fans, the coaches a lot of clarity. Dylan Brown there long term, Kalen Ponga there long term. They're doing well. Bradman Best too. Shout out to him. One of the best games, no pun intended, that he's played of his career. He was outstanding. The next game, South Sydney 36, Cronulla 12. I've already done 33 minutes and I've only gone through half the game, so I'm going to speed these up a bit. South Sydney, congratulations to them. Latrell Seawalt. Man, it wasn't just his attack or his defense that was brilliant. It was his goal kicking. That was outstanding. And now, they have a very tight salary cap at the moment, South Sydney. You're probably getting rid of an outside back in the next couple of years, and you're bringing this kid in. Yeah, he is outstanding. Pretty sure he's an Indigenous boy as well. It was great to see his family and friends celebrating what he achieved in this game. He was just having fun, and even though he was kicking those goal kicks, and he was just having a great time. It was so great to see South Sydney. They were absolutely fantastic. I want to give a shout out to Sean Kepi as well. He's really played some good football in 2026. He's always had an error in his game, and his discipline has always been pretty poor. But especially over the last few weeks, I think he's really taken another level in his game. And Wayne Bennett's getting the best out of him. He's showing a lot of resilience, and his poor discipline is his discipline is it's getting better. Like he might give away a penalty or a six again here and there, but he was giving away on average 3 a game at one stage of his career. So I give him a lot of credit. Yeah, I mean, Jai Gray, what an inclusion he was back into the side. Campbell Graham, Alex Johnston. How good's Alex Johnston? Like, he's not your best outside back, but the way in which he can finish a try and just even his skill, his skill is great. He knows when to pass it back into the inside to a Cody Walker or a flying Jai Gray or whoever. He shows that his experience is so vital in that South Sydney side. And I genuinely believe that when he goes to the PNG Chiefs in season 2028, he will be a massive loss for South Sydney. I really do believe that, just in terms of the small little things of knowing how to score a try and when to score a try. It's all good to get ball in a good position to score a try, but you've actually got to score the fucking try as well, and he does that so well. Congratulations to him. The Sharks, really disappointing. I thought Blake Brayley didn't add much at all, to be honest. He's been a bit quiet the last month. Nicho Hynes, that was poor. That was very poor. It's just they looked really robotic in this game. Their attack looked like Canterbury's, where it looked so predictable. They were just trying things, and they looked slow. They looked very slow off the mark. They looked flat. They weren't energetic. They were favourites to win this game, and they should have won this well. It should have been the Sharks winning this 36-12. There was no Jack Whiten, no Latrell Mitchell, no Brandon Smith. They had out and big outs too, South Sydney. But the Sharks had a pretty decent side on paper there. Jesse Ramien, I can think of the top of my head, was one of the only outs of this game. And they struggled. Now, Cronulla, they've been known since 2022 when Craig Fitzgibbon had taken over. They've been known to be a very consistent football side. I can't say they've been consistent this year. I actually think they've been really disappointing. And they're showing me enough, watching them closely, that they will not get to a grand final this year. They will be the same old Cronulla, where I believe that they will get to the finals and probably get knocked out in either the first week of the final, the second week of the finals, or a prelim. Now, if you're a Cronulla fan, you've made the finals every year since 2022, which you take, yeah? You take. But when is it worth? When are they going to get to the next level? My question is, can they? Can they get to the next level? I don't think so. I don't think with this side. I'm convinced that Aden Fanua-Blake should not play Origin this year based on his performances. I thought he was brilliant last year, but I just feel he's struggling this year. He's just not involved. He needs to be more involved, and he had a couple of good runs over the weekend, but look, they had enough creativity. How can you bully the Tigers the week before and score that many points, and then you get beaten by about 24 points to South Sydney, who were outsiders of this game? Even when the Sharks had the ball, they looked flat. And Nicho Hynes, I'm not one to smash Nicho like a lot of people in podcasts do or in the media. I think he's one of the best blokes in rugby league, alongside Jake, Tom Trbojevic, Cameron Murray. I think Ruben Cotter's one of the great guys in rugby league. I think Jason Tamalolo, these kind of players, James Tedesco. But this is just not good enough. This is not good enough. Nicho Hynes has been around now since 2018, I think. He needs to start dominating in these performances now. And to think he was an Origin player 3 years ago under Brad Fittler, to see how much he's dropped. Look, he was outstanding in the finals last year for Cronulla. I'll give him that. But over a long period of time, he's just in and out of games, and that's his form. He's either great for half the time or he's just not involved enough half the time. And can you win a comp with a half like that at the moment? No. Until Nicho Hynes finds consistency in his game, then they will not go far. And that's just a fact. And I think it's fair to say that. When I say go far, making the finals is going far to a degree, but going far in terms of they have a grand final roster, Cronulla. And I think a lot of the onus has got to fall on Craig Fitzgibbon as well. He's probably kept these players long enough now. He's probably gone, well, you guys, I've been fair to you by helping you re-sign and stay together and giving you guys a contract. Now you owe me the favour. And they're not doing it. So, but he needs to get the best out of them, and he's struggling to do that at the moment. I think they'll be in the top 8, Cronulla, but that was really disappointing over the weekend. The next game, the Manly Sea Eagles and the Brisbane Broncos. Manly, congratulations to them. Fuck, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? Like, funny how the narrative changes in the media. You know, especially Brent Reed and some of those journos on NRL 360 talking about, you know, how dare Manly do this to Kieran Foran? It's not fair on Foz. It's not fair on the club. It's not fair on the players. Gee, the narrative's turned. It's almost like they've forgotten. When they bring it up now, it's almost like they've forgotten. Who was it? Who's David Riccio? Now, everyone's entitled to have their opinion in rugby league. I'm one of them. But hey, at least I always put my hand up when I get it wrong. They always seem to go on NRL 360, share their opinions, and forget about their opinions. Forget about what they said, and then commend Kieran Foran and how well he's doing. Well, that's fine. Commend him. On this podcast, I get plenty wrong, but if I'm wrong, I'll commend the player or the team that are proving me wrong before I repeat what my opinion was to show that I was wrong. These journos on NRL 360, it's just ego. It really is ego. It's an egothon, if that makes sense. They are just like, seriously. I commend Foz so well. The Manly Sea Eagles, like, look, people were saying Manly will get the spoon at the start of the year. I thought they'd be a bottom 4 side, but in saying that, I didn't think they'd finish last. I think they had too much quality in their side. And even if Seabold will still coach, I don't think they would have finished the spoon. I still would have thought the Dragons or the Gold Coast. I think I picked Manly at the start of the year to be one of the bottom teams. I didn't say Wooden Spoon. I never thought Wooden Spoon, but I thought under Seabold, they would have finished anywhere from maybe around 14th, 15th. Now, when Foz came in, I still probably didn't think they'd make the 8, but I did expect improvement. Not like this. They have, since Foran has come into this side since round 5, they have been the best defensive side of the competition. They have not let any more points scored against them but 18, and that was against the team that will most likely win the premiership. They were outstanding in this game, the Manly Sea Eagles, and I understand that there was no Payne Haas, and there was a lot of players still out. No Adam Reynolds and Corey Jensen, Billy Walters, but sorry, Brisbane still had enough quality in that side to test Manly. Like, you know, I'm pretty sure they were favourites in this game. Or maybe Manly jumped them to be favourites maybe an hour before kickoff. But Brisbane should have scored more than 4 points. Reece Walsh was there. Ezra Mann was there. Ben Hunt was there. You know, like, he shouldn't have played, in my opinion. Now, am I concerned about Brisbane? No, not at all. If I'm a Broncos fan, I'm looking at that game going, yeah, sure, we should have scored more points. We should have defended better. But I'm not worried. And they will be there at the back end of the year. Mark my words. They will be there at the back end of the year. I'm not worried as a Broncos fan. They're going to have games like this. And honestly, there's a sense of 2025 about them. They will get their timing right. I genuinely believe that. And now Manly, look, that's all I'm going to touch on about Brisbane, because it's not a game where I'm going to criticise them too much. They should have scored more points. They should have defended better. But look, Manly smashed them round 13 last year at Brookvale Oval. They were fucked. The Broncos at that stage, it was very unlikely that they were going to make the top 8. They turned it around, stuck into the 4 and won the fucking comp. Yeah? So I'm not going to sit here and bag Brisbane, because at the end of the day, they will be back. You know, I don't want to bullshit on this podcast. They will be back. If I'm to be honest, if I look at Manly and Brisbane come finals time, who do I think will get to a grand final or win the comp? Who has a higher chance of doing that? It's Brisbane. It's Brisbane. My thing about Manly is I think now they're a dead set top 8 side. But the loss, we cannot underestimate as Manly fans the loss to Siwa Takiaho and how fucking big that is. And at the start of the year, Caleb Navali, the young Fijian lock forward, he was brilliant last year when he played for Manly off the bench. He can play at front row. Traditionally a lock forward, Caleb Navali. He was a huge loss. So Siwa Takiaho's experience, he's not the best prop in the game. He's not the prop he was at the Sydney Roosters, but his experience and the way in which he can teach these younger forwards the way to go about business. Like he can still do that off the field now, but his experience on the field was very, very important. And that's one thing about Manly is we do have a lack of depth in the forwards. And yet they're playing like how they're playing. Now, my opinion is Manly will make the 8, but I do wonder if in the finals we have the capability of making a grand final. If we make a grand final with the lack of forwards we have, the lack of depth we have in the forward pack, it is unbelievable. It would be amazing. My prediction is, though, that we will from now on, I genuinely believe this is like Manly in 2005. We are now going to be a consistent finals football team for the next few years. And I genuinely believe that. I want to touch on Joey Walsh. What a try. How fantastic was that? Congratulations to Joey. He just looks so relaxed. He's 40-20. His try, his passing selection, his kicks. Can I just say Jason Saab as well? Fuck, I wish he'd catch a ball and put it down on the line. He's so fast, right? Now, I don't want to sound too critical to Jason Saab. For me, he's not an NRL player. I think he's a basketballer. Now, he's great in terms of his speed. But you know how Sam Walker always kicks it? Well, Luke Keary used to always have this play where he'd kick it when the game was on the line, crossfield kick it over to Daniel Tupou's wing, and 9 times out of 10, Tupou would leap up, catch the ball and score the fucking try. Saab can't do that. He doesn't have... He's been around consistently now for 6 years in the NRL. He now needs to have that ability to catch the fucking ball in the air and put it over the line. Now, he dropped about 2 of them over the weekend. He's dropped a fair few of them over this year so far. He needs to work on his leaps up and actually holding the football, catching it and putting it down over the line. It's his responsibility as an NRL winger to know how to do this when he's 6 years into his career. Now, you know, Manly, I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of them. And I'm just so happy as a supporter. And to see Jake Trbojevic celebrate 250 games, fantastic. They're playing for their coach. They're playing for each other. They're having the time of their lives. And I spoke for the first 3 weeks about how Manly didn't play with that Manly DNA. Now I'm watching a football team play for their fucking players, like Brett Stewart, Watmo, Ballon. They always played mentally tough football, and these Manly players are playing how they did back in the mid-2000s to early 2010s, up until about 2014, 2015. They are playing with Manly mental DNA, mental toughness DNA, and they're showing that through their actions, not through their words in press conferences and media stuff, and not Manly documentaries. We are seeing it, that they are playing for one another. And I congratulate the club. I actually congratulate Scott Penn. Not a big fan of him, to be honest, and some decisions he's made in the past, you know, such as sacking Tooves, hiring Trent Barrett, all this sort of stuff. Like, I don't think he knows rugby league like true rugby league fans do. And that's probably not a criticism. I question some of the decisions he's made, but what him and Jason King have made with bringing Foran in, I felt like Scott Penn listened to the supporters. I think he listened to the fans and did what was best for the fans as well. And I think that was good. I think you got to give credit to the Manly owner there. And Jason King has been fantastic since he's come in and replaced Tony Mestrov at the beginning of the season. Congratulations, Manly winning that game, 32 points to 4. The Melbourne Storm and the West Tigers. Now, I was tossing and turning in bed the night before. this game, not knowing who I was going to tip. But when I saw that Terrell May was going to be ruled out about 2 hours before kickoff, I straight away knew that Melbourne were going to win this game. Terrell May needs to be a starting front rower in Origin this year. People have Adam Fanua-Blake in front of him. For me, he has earned that Origin spot. Now, I know there was the whole criticism last year with I'll burn that jersey, bro, or whatever when he was on the game. You think, I love Terrell May. I love him as a person. I think he's a cool guy. He just seems like a nice guy. I love his podcast. He's just... We talk about Payne Haas being one of the best front rowers the game has ever seen. Terrell May has been, in my opinion, he'd be in the top 5 best front rowers the NRL has seen from 2010 onwards. What he is doing, and I'm not just coming from an NRL fantasy supercoach perspective, I'm coming from the way in which he just gets himself involved in the game. He is so enthusiastic, so energetic, and he's just a player you want to run out with. He is absolutely unbelievable. So when he got ruled out alongside no Apisai Coruscant, no Jareen Buller, you knew that there was going to be some issues there. Melbourne, congratulations to them. I thought they were really good in this game, the Storm. Very, very sad to see Suafa'alago with a fractured facial injury, I believe, as a cheekbone. I'll have to double check that. But they were outstanding, the Melbourne Storm. Congratulations to them. I thought Josh King was really good in this game. Harry Grant was outstanding. Jerome Hughes and Munster did their thing. Will Warbrick was great. Will Warbrick, I think, has been a bit quiet the last 18 months, but I think he was really, really good in this game. Sean Blaw, they struggled in their back rowers this year a little bit, Joe Chan, whatnot, but and Atavalu Lasati was great in this game as well. Their back row was fantastic. One thing I'll just say about Melbourne is Trent Loiero. Not sure if he's a starting lock forward. His discipline's quite poor, so he needs to work on that and work on it quickly. We saw it in Magic Round last year when the Storm took on the Raiders. Trent Loiero gave away penalties and it ended up blowing their lead. They led by about 7 points with 3 minutes to go or something like that. They ended up losing the game. So he needs to work on that. I'm wondering if he's more better and more important for Melbourne to come on off the bench. Really intrigued to see how they go for the rest of the season, Melbourne. For me, I still have them making the 8. And look, I'm happy to put my hand up and be wrong about that. I think they'll win this weekend, and I think they'll find a way to somehow get there. For me, I think their forwards were most impressive. Harry Grant back to his best, and I think their star players stood up. And that's something you can't say that they've done over the last 7 weeks prior to this game. Congratulations to him. Nick Meaney, he's a very, very important player for Perth. Very versatile. Put him at centre, wing, fullback. You can also put him in the halves. Craig Bellamy has also started him at 5'8" a couple of times, I think back in 2024 when Munster was down injured. So congratulations to Melbourne, 44 points to 16 over the Tigers. Really intrigued for Manly and the Tigers this week, Magic Round. Going to be a fantastic game of football. Now, the following game and the final game of the round was the Canberra Raiders 18 and the Penrith Panthers 30. Penrith winning that 30-18. Now, I spoke about Canberra being one of the only sides that lost this week that could walk off into the sheds being really proud of their performance. I genuinely believe that. They were outstanding in this game. Congratulations to them. This is without Josh Papali'i. I thought Joe Tarpanay was outstanding. KO Weeks, he's an underrated player. He is so good. Ethan Strange and Ethan Sanders is playing now with a lot of confidence and knowing that his jersey is his. He's now knowing that he's owning his position, and the amount of confidence that brings into the football side is fantastic to watch. Congratulations to the Canberra Raiders. Even though they lost, they just lacked a bit of concentration at critical times. Nathan Cleary, unbelievable. Everything changed. You knew Penrith were going to win that game when he went for that short goal line dropout. And Sebastian Kris, when I talk about that lack of concentration, he just wasn't concentrating at that moment. Cleary did what he did best, and he got the win. I thought Blaze Talangi, I don't think they win it without him either. I thought that was his best game he's played at 5'8". Really interesting to know too, we look back at 2025 and Blaise Talangi, Penrith didn't want to put him in there straight away because, he had defensive issues. The way they managed that, the way they handled that was great. And you watch Talangi now and some of his one-on-one tackles. He'll miss the occasional tackle, but gee whiz, he's improved as a defender. And you can tell he's worked on his game, worked on his craft. And he reminds me of a Fletcher Sharp too. When you talk about Fletcher Sharp at the Newcastle Knights as a 5'8", you're talking about one of the best support players of the competition. And that was only to be seen last year when the Knights took on South Sydney in Magic Round. He scored 3 tries, a hat-trick in Magic Round, and he was outstanding. So the Penrith Panthers, for me, they are dead set, almost certainties to win the premiership in 2026. I'm annoyed that I didn't pick them at the start of the year. I thought Melbourne would do it. I just think Penrith, they just, even under pressure, they stick to their system. And what I noticed in this game with Penrith is just the amount of meters they would make through their sets of sixes. That they just kept finding a way to get the job done and using their meter eaters, Brian or Moses Leota, Lindsay Smith. I think Freddie Lussick has done a really good job at dummy half since he's replaced the injured Mitch Kenny. I think Lussick was really good in this game. I think his game has gone to another level. Now, I think Joey Lussick was a really good footballer. I think Darcy Lussick was a good footballer. I think out of the Lussicks, my opinion is Freddie Lussick's probably the best out of them, out of the 3 brothers there. I think he's showing that, okay, he can actually... I think an NRL club would happily pick him up to be their starting dummy 9, starting dummy half, and for at least a few years. So he is a local Manly junior, and played for the Beacon Hill Bears. I think, and Joey Lussick was a really good player as well. You saw what he did at the Super League when he went over there, made his debut for Manly in 2017 against the Dragons, scored a try in that game under Trent Barrett as well. He's a good player, good defender, played a bit of football at Parramatta as well. And then I obviously went over to the Super League. Pretty sure he made a grand final over there at dummy half as well in the Super League. Yeah, he's retired now, Joey Lussick, and Darcy Lussick is, of course, retired as well, playing for both Parramatta and Manly there as well. But I think Freddie Lussick, something about his game which suggests to me that even when he played for the Warriors last year and they made the finals, I think he was really influential for them off the bench as a 14. So I think the Panthers, no offence to Sonny Luke, but I think Penrith have made the right decision of signing Freddie Lussick and getting rid of Sonny Luke, who's about 30 years old now. And he's doing some good things there at the Cowboys. But I just think Penrith, they just have this amazing ability of when the score is level with, 15, 20 minutes to go, they have this amazing ability of knowing their game, knowing each other's game, and understanding the process, understanding the system. Now, it has just dropped on Code Sports as I've been doing this podcast. Something just popped up saying Ivan Cleary is no longer going to coach Penrith. Breaking news on the Rugby League Forecast podcast. I'm going to look into that. So what is he? He's contracted to the end of 2027. He's not going to the Chiefs because Willie Peters is there. Perth. Well, Mal Meninga's signed there. But I heard the other day that the NRL aren't that happy with Mal Meninga. I mean, Meninga hasn't even moved to Perth yet. They're a few months away from training for the 2027 season. So, yeah, they need to get their act together, Perth. Something here, coaching director. Okay, we'll see what we go there. I'm a bit rattled about that. Well, that's good for the game, actually. It's good for the game. Good on Ivan Cleary. I think Panthers fans would be happy for him. He's done enough there. The question now is, will Nathan move on? I'm not sure. But anyway, that is the round 10 review of the NRL season. If you love what you're hearing, guys, please follow me on Spotify or the Apple Podcasts. That is Rugby League Forecast Podcast, Rugby League Forecast Podcast, or please click subscribe on your YouTube app, or if you're watching on the computer, just please click on it. Thank you very much. The laptop, I should say. Many people have computers these days. I don't know. Everyone just has a bloody laptop. I miss the old 1995 Windows computers. They were great. Fuck, some of those games are outstanding. Remember that pinball game? That was probably about 20 years ago, maybe not that old. I played this Toy Story game from 1995 on the computer, which I still watch it on YouTube actually sometimes. I just for a bit of nostalgia. I miss the old PCs. They were good fun. Anyway, all right, that's it for the, I've got ADHD. My mind just goes. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers.